pay attention to me, please. And please understand. Talking at night, coming home from our search for a lake upstate with a past and a GPS. And stopped to assist a turtle cross the road into tall grass to lay her eggs, she said. Following our talk over breakfast about Chekhov's dramas, when they're done right, I mean done right, is to listen to lovers through walls whisper their secrets, greater than Shakespeare, than anything else but this. After talking all night about friends and the idea of a man's man and how I've been a woman's, being raised on grave conversations with mom and late lovers, followed by months in the army going AWOL, hiding in plain sight, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, standing at attention. And Margot recounts a dinner and an ex-father-in-law's reverie about service in the Air Corps in peacetime. And she told of her father at the front in Korea who came home a shattered alcoholic. And her father-in-law said it proved the army will make a boy into a man or a man into a boy, depending on. And she spat upon his table, seething that her father was more than that. And God damn your black heart! We wept that night for men and their women who blow up and storm out with the keys to the car. I'm going to just read some of you might have heard before. These have been reworked a little bit, though. This is called The Road Back. And that's how I've opened this book. The Road Back. As always, one goddamn thing after another. On the road, I mean, or what's passing through most days. Residencies at desert motels in and around the Great Basin from Tonopah to Nogales. Nothing to report but hawks circling the highway or the last woman consulted and made up with. Then eating alone and curling up in the car. And thinking it's only what you thought you wanted. One life compression and its distractions. I lay around my aunt's place all week beside the pool, trying hard not to think so much about craving. Whatever I had to have but couldn't. So decided to head back to the mothership. I have it right here. Monday, Labor Day, depart Tucson for New Mexico. Sleep in Tucumcari. Texas at dawn. Arrive Joplin by dusk. Drive next day. Stop at rest area outside Indianapolis. Call and leave message. By afternoon, make Columbus. Stay at my daughter's. Watch televised football. Awake late, drive all day, arrive Erie at sundown, call my daughter, I'm okay, and read old mail. Fell asleep with my clothes on, sand and moon rocks spilled everywhere. I didn't know then, nor would I know for months, that in my sleep someone close had turned and left me for someone else. People she remembers in flashes include Natalie Wood. Boy, is she in the news again, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Yeah, okay. Maria Callas.
Oh.
Sally Field in glasses. Robert Downey Jr. Naomi Wolf, Merle Oberon, Penelope Cruz, Susan Sontag, Jean Tierney, Faith Demergue, Juliette Binoche, Anna Magnani, and Edith Head after a spectacularly rough night. A therapist suggested multiple personalities, while another certifies her a depressive given the interface between this and the next appointment. Margot has been diagnosed. Last night she put on glasses so I could have rough sex with a particularly offensive gossip columnist. Who even after reviewing my book badly, deep down and a few drinks in, really digs me. Rent in time. This has to do with the Richford. That's where I'm staying right now. Up late at the hotel, watching Hitchcock's Rear Window, lit windows in brick hallways, banter of TVs, where someone a cut less bankable than Grace Kelly says, "Tell me everything you saw and what you think it needs." These winter nights, I wonder why I haven't left for Santiago. Already I can sense the imminent soft panting of Margot witnessing in the suburbs 20 hours with limp, a watchtower, and a tank of gas. Some of days before cell phones, the advance of corporate marauders, and the end of an interior life. At midnight, Wanda in 112 bangs on my door and complains about the name I've given her. "Don't start with me, mister. Besides, it's no longer a hotel, dear, in case you haven't noticed." "Excuse my staring," I tell her, "but when I look into your face, I see God." Oh. Here's the title poem. Well, I just saw this in USA Today a couple days ago. Study suggests feelings of guilt are a top PTSD cause among GIs coming back from Afghanistan. It says here, that's in quotes, moral injury may be added as factor in troops' diagnosis. It's like, we've been killing each other for, 20,000 years, and it's like, in 2011, we all sit down, the professionals, right, and they say, "Hey, maybe, a lot of this PTSD, maybe it's like guilt." Dark is my therapy. My last impregnable defense and its repairs against tedium. Sex, you'll find, a terror to write, as it's always about something else. I don't listen to music or watch TV, but await Dame Margot as medium, my spirit guide to the underworld, who snatches the poet by the hair and gasps wetly, his knees chafed against stained carpeting. Online, a reporter suffers a seizure at the Grammys, the news of vomits hurl in a world ending with no one the wiser. Is that how it will end between us? I want to know. Yesterday she texted the following: "I love you, Guido." No abbreviation, numerals, or textees. So you have to assume it's real, scant, but durable. I've saved it in case of dismissal and play it back with my voices. "Who's Guido, may I be so bold to ask?" "You," she said, and signed off in compliance with federal regs for low-income housing as outlined in the 7 signs of bullshit and the DSM-4. The movie in our heads. Mine opened with a wide-angle shot with a dust stream shooting down off the canyon rim. and picking up speed to meet my ex in Phoenix or Albuquerque with Hank on the soundtrack crooning, "Hey, good looking, how about cooking?" While Ems was landing that bookstore job in Cleveland and renting a room before resuming her affair with the lead guitar whose band rocked if the drummer bothered to relax. And who said he'd dump his wife once the group got signed and he learned to cook the books. So by the time we met, it started a whole new theater of operations, requiring hard-fought edits and a reshoot. The Tenants Committee. They had heard I wrote books, so handed me a tablet and said, "Make yourself useful." "Listen," they said, "to the guy with the deed and a down payment on the cemetery. The woman with a Merc manual trapped in the elevator, stuck keening in the shaft. Listen to the kid holed up at the Mission till the hotel pops for a room. Or listen to the widows in the lobby with yesterday's papers, and those who smile with lips clenched to hide bad teeth. Or the maintenance crew who snowplows and scatters salt that ruins the rugs. Listen to Wanda refuse the grub they serve at the pantry, then attends Mass but can't recall the Sermon on the Mount or the year she went through the windshield. Who says, you know, if your voices went to church on Sunday, they wouldn't talk like that. Now, hoarse in her 50s, she raves of what she had and lost. A man, a job in a bar, and real friends. Then proceeds to tell me who among us stinks and those dangerous and not to be trusted. Whose first question is, do you have a girlfriend and why are you here? Are you old, broken, down, and forgotten? You must be somebody. And you ask to be allowed not to answer that. I think I read this one here before, but this is dedicated to Megan. Getting here. Begin by taking a bus from Union Station to LAX to catch the last plane out of this century. Or stepping out of the heat to buy a ticket on the midnight and a coffee at the hotel. Or pulling into Penn Station in different shades of recall and walking 29 blocks for a room and a cold shower. While warming to the idea of a ship as long as it's a working scow and not Cleopatra's barge on the Hudson. Or recall being dropped off in the Mojave or high in the Sierras and hiking into town in moonlight. Or the refuge of my old school campus after hours on empty, and there's just the janitor's radio and a ball game. Or stumble on a paperback published the year I was born, about a condemned church in the battle of angels when it hits me. God, deliver me days of unblemished solitude and ghosts so thick they overlap in shifts. Let me just be. But even more than that, being beside you with our lovemaking and whispering in the dark. Oh, how I love that. And love you. Oh, God, can it be I'm happy?
Go ahead, man.
I just want to go to something else. Since Jim's death, I wanted to read tonight just a couple of things that he's in. that have to do with, you know, some experience I've had with Jim in the last couple of years. This is the day, well, the day I moved out of the hotel into Jim's. I bought 4 rolls of toilet paper for $1 and decided, when they're gone, I'm gone. Now we lounge in big chairs watching movies like The Verdict, when I'm asked if Jack Warden died, and assure him everyone's dead who was any good at something. Newman, Mason, cast and crew, everyone I've ever loved, dead, and speaks in nocturnes. So we start with everyone we ever knew and work backwards. Then everyone we ever met, then forgot and met up with again under aliases, and discover they're all dead. Or dead so it matters. Most of us, given long sentences in cities without women, and no longer wondering. This is another one with Jim in it. My friend Jim hasn't seen Night of the Iguana since taking his fiancée on a date the summer it came out. That was 1964. I remind him that was 45 years ago, almost to the day. He doesn't remember, drunk as he was, except that he married his sweetheart in the church and remained thus until he walked away in search of his life. I offer to screen a newly restored print on DVD, and he gazes in awe. Oh, man, that guy sure plays a great drunk. I didn't know Dick Burton could act. I know what he means. And suspect this the conversation women never have with men, especially as it concerns our rapture with Ava, given the history written in her face. He wants to know whatever happened to Sue Lyon after Lolita. And this, he means. She got old, man, long in the tooth, as they say, and had to find another life. Now, I bet she's interesting, he says. I just want to read this one. This is from another thing. And this was Jim, except in the poem, you know, when I wrote the poem, I made it into her, not him, because, I don't know, you know, in a lot of ways, Jim was my male mother. So, anyway, I'm just going to make the pronouns he. Call waiting. He said over the phone it was not his business to tell me. It was not his business to say what had happened to me, despite my asking. That I had taken this business of hurting myself as far as one can without self-destruction. And that I'd better learn to write comedy one day, or else. And then this is the last one about Jim. This is basically how I learned that he died. Rich, you know, Rich, who comes here. Yeah. Rich is in Detroit. He's working, and he should be back pretty soon. Anyway, this is the last one. It says here about Jim. It says here, Sweeney's dead. Rich called to say. Dead. Nothing more. It's Thursday. Means for the last 18 hours he's lived in absentia. I call Margot to talk, but there's nothing really. He saw it coming. We all do. But what about you, she says. Don't you feel bad for you? I've been feeling bad for me my whole life, dear. In fact, I've cut a soundtrack with strings accompanied by voices. Friends start dropping like bad teeth, you get out, my motto. I doubt the man misses waiting in the rain or the corner of Time and Square for a bus, if that's what you mean. And I'm sure we'll all have more to talk about per square inch than we ever had alive. It's funny, though, how it takes dying to remind you of your effect on people. That I cast a shadow. That you're here. Hell, we're all here. And there's nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. Letting it sink in.
Yeah. All right.
That's for you, Jim. Here's I want to read this poem because it's by Bill Stafford, William Stafford, and then I'll read something that I wrote off of that poem. William Stafford. This is from the 1970 something, and it's called Bess. And I'll try to read it like Stafford read it. Ours are the streets where Bess first met her cancer. She went to work every day past the secure houses. At her job in the library, she arranged better and better flowers. And when students asked for books, her hand went out to help. In the last year of her life, she had to keep her friends from knowing how happy they were. She listened while they complained about food or work or the weather. And the great national events danced their grotesque, fake importance. Always pain moved where she moved. She walked ahead, it came. She hid, it found her. No one ever served another so truly. No enemy ever meant so strong a hate. It was almost as if there was no room left for her on earth. But she remembered where joy used to live. She straightened its flowers. She did not weep when she passed its houses. And when finally she pulled into a tiny corner and slipped from pain, her hand opened again, and the streets opened, and she wished all well. This is a poem I wrote called Finding Stafford's Bess at the Public Library. Whenever I stop at a library, I check to see if they carry the book of Bill Stafford's that's got his poem Bess. My talisman from a long way back, coming upon Allegiances, published 79 by Farrar, Giroux, and Strauss. I love to give the, so people can, I like to, that's part of the main reason for writing poetry is to hit people to like the really good shit, Go look here, man. 22 lines describing a librarian in the last year of her life, including abrupt line breaks, accenting her cancer, the poem pointing to a kind of faith too little recognized or understood as a flower arrangement. The great line that goes, she had to keep her friends from knowing how happy they were. And later, the great national events dance their grotesque fake importance. It's two stanzas hinged by thunderous enjambment. Always. Pain. The P in caps. As it finds her in the end and swells beyond her until she slips from its grasp. And the town's secure streets open. I wish I could print it out in full, but the legal wrangling that would ensue makes it prohibitive to say the least. These days, I can't help but bring out the old stone shining with wear. Like I told Margot, watching Kate Hepburn, such an array of ecstatic faces on film, all dead. All dead, Philip D., Gertrude Marie, Jack P., Dave A., Jeff H., and assorted horn players in under 2 years. Now read in the Times of Dolores Hope at 102 passing on Monday. She and Bob honeymooned at the Richford when it was still the Ford. I shit you not. Thelma, the cleaning lady, told me she used to live here before I came here and wondered what it means still. Kim, I'm going to read something about being young, being a kid, like you said. Homeroom. All I attended were foreign flicks downtown and read books not assigned by teachers instead of reviewing my class notes on the Gadsden Purchase. In homeroom, propped against the wall and reading Van Gogh's letters to Theo. Oh, man. Some days I'd fall down and indulge my fondness for seizures out of Dostoevsky. And Miss Print, the typing teacher, would say, "What's the matter with you? Something is very wrong." And here I am, all grown up, living alone in a hotel by an open window, Geronimo on the reservation. If I do what I must do, I can forgive anyone, anything. I read in the chapter on exile and its maintenance.
Wow.
I want to, let's see if I can find it. I want to read the one on, here's one called, from my past also. It's called Altar Boy. I was once an altar boy. Always the traveler seeking to offer devotions to God, woman, child with power to transform the ordinary into rain. Faking the Latin, a soprano in the choir, and firing incense in benediction. I almost studied for the priesthood then until it struck me I already am. My ministry to offer devotions to the lonely. You are not alone, says a sign in the hotel lobby, along with a number to call. We are always on the verge of being someone else.
Ah, what?
All right, I'm gonna get ready to shut this down. Here's one called My Mitt Girlfriend. Knows the names of trees and plants because her father instructed her on walks and brought home toys from work to be mended and named. Tuned at night to rockabilly on his Philco, he cleaned bathrooms at the university, then rode the backs of garbage trucks for the insurance. During a fight, I called her a scullery maid, then changed it too late to mean broken. Writing this instead on page 1 of the notebook bought for me at the Art Institute of Chicago, Anxiety by Edvard Munch on the cover. She said, "Oh, I almost forgot to give you this. Here." She sat in the bathtub with wet hair and knees drawn up, like a girl waiting to be scolded. Visual finding the day, poetry. I'm gonna read a poem about a very good friend who passed about a year ago, and here in Erie. And if I can find it. Well, all right. Guess I'm not gonna find it. Oh yeah, here it is. It's called Phil's Story. Some of this, if you knew Phil real well, please forgive me. Some of this has been like fictionalized. Phil's Story. He'd had his own church in Buffalo, but was ousted by tribunal after brief deliberation over his leadership of a young woman whose name was withheld pending investigation. And thus, following orders from an angel, he gassed up the Oldsmobile and headed west for Vegas, when the machine broke down shy of Erie, where, after a shot and a beer, he suffered a seizure and was rushed to emergency. When he learned of the marvelous opportunities afforded in medicine by a town this size, and entered the system, a portly African-American with gold teeth, laptop, and a Bible, who held court at the cafe and talked to people about the love of God, in a voice that rolled over like a cloud, being all-powerful, was stronger than diabetes, who loved bebop, God that is, the way Phil loved me to go on about women. Guido, you're terrible, and said men our age shouldn't have to explain. When he died, they set out a bench inscribed with his name in the hall by the men's can, where he'd hung out all day smoking with his coat over the smoke detector.
All right, man.
I can't look Phil.
Okay, that last one, last poem. Here we go. Penthouse Serenade. Oh no, I know where I'm going. I know what I want to read. This is what I came to read. Right here. This is it. This is what I here. See, I just dog-eared pages, man. This, well, all right. I'll read this one instead. Stroke. This is about Phil, too. All my friends live in hospitals and get their mail forwarded. Just yesterday, I called Phil an ambulance, and as I found him in his own piss beside a wheelchair, his pupils stuck in the dark room of his brain. Wanda says, there he goes with the book again. She's told her sister about me. What's wrong with him? She asked. He's a writer. Oh yeah? What's he write? Books. Oh, that's it. After visiting Phil up in ICU while all his friends from the cafe hold his hand and promise a free latte if he'd just wake up, I left him there. Maybe I should have defended the man's right to privacy, but said out loud, God damn it, Phil, don't wake up unless you've a mind to. Phil died today. Wanda called the floor and learned he wasn't listed there as a patient. His real name, Roscoe. She had no one to tell it to but me. Meanwhile, my refrigerator door fills up with holy cards from funerals I don't attend but end up with like Post-its. And make a point to visit the sick and dying, but after that, let the dead bury the dead, said Jesus. Another quote that Christians prefer not to get. Thank you. Thanks, guys.